everyone. We are doing something crazy and different this morning. It's probably going to take a little bit more time than usual, but hopefully not too much more. We can get started. I'm just going to jump right on into it. I'm going to ask in advance for a little grace on my kitchen. I threw my back out, and so my kitchen's a little on the messy side. I did get up and do some work on it this morning, but I wanted to preserve my back somewhat for doing this with y'all. So you can see like my sink full of dishes in the strainer, all that stuff. It's fine. We're all gonna make it through. So what I've done, what we're doing today is we're pressure canning broth, chicken broth. This is actually chicken mushroom broth. I had some chicken bones in my freezer that we had already baked chicken, got the meat off the bones, put the bones back in the freezer because I knew I would be making broth. So I put those bones in the slow cooker overnight with some dehydrated mushrooms that I had that I've had on my shelf for a while that I'm wanting to use up. So I put those together in my slow cooker. They went overnight on warm with some vinegar. The modern canners can be used on warm. The way they're made now is they are on the warm setting. They don't go below the safest, lowest temperature for food safety. So you can cook broth on warm all night long. When I woke up this morning, I bumped it up to low. I just wanted a nice low cook to break down as much collagen as I can out of the bones, and to get as many nutrients as I could out of the mushrooms without damaging the heat sensitive compounds and nutrients. So this is what it looks like after I've fished most everything out of my slow cooker, and I've already got a couple of my jars filled, but I'm just going to show you now how I fill the jars. These are clean jars. They've been washed this morning. And so what I'm doing is I'm using a mesh strainer to catch all the food particles because I really need this to just be broth without any solids, because if there's solids, then it affects the appropriate canning time. Okay, so I'm wanting this to be a very short canning time, so I just want the broth. So we will can it for 25 minutes. If it was, if this had meat in it, it would be 90 minutes because we're doing quarts. That's a huge time difference between 25 and 90 minutes. So we definitely want to make sure that we are not getting any meat in there, any solids in there. And I'm going to leave about an inch, what they call airspace, where I don't fill it. Move this over. I'll just show you. This is the head space, okay? We want about an inch right there. You do not want to have more than an inch, and you do not want to have less than an inch. And you can use a little tool. They call it a debubbler. It usually comes in the kits. I've done this enough to where I can just kind of eye it. So that's about an inch right there. Under that little brim right there is an inch. And then I'm going to take white vinegar on a paper towel. I'm going to go around the rim. And what this does is if there's any food particles that got on my rim or any oil or anything of that nature that could prevent my jar from sealing, this is going to remove that. Okay. I have my jar lids soaking in warm water. You do not boil these because it can affect the rubber coating, but you just want them soaking in warm water. And then when you put the lid on, you're just doing it to fingertip tight. So you just do it. You don't crank with no wrist action, just your fingertips. Once they start sliding, you're good to go. And then you can put it into your pressure canner. These have to be pressure canned per FDA standards because this is a low acid product. Things like jams and jellies, pickles, anything with a lot of vinegar in it, you can go ahead and water bath can. Things like vegetables with water, you know, you're just filling the jar with your vegetables and water, maybe a little bit of salt or spices. Meat, beans, that kind of stuff. All of that is low acid and should be pressure canned. You will hear in Rebel canning groups that it is safe to water bath can these things. What I know is that pressure canning is not available worldwide. And I know that canning times and process can also be dependent on your altitude, etc. That's what we know about food in general, right? However, we have this available to us, and it has been tested, and I know in my knower that nobody's going to get sick from my food, and that is very important for me. So we still have some broth. I'm going to grab one more jar. I don't think that we have enough for 2 more jars, so just 1 more jar should do it. Hopefully it'll fill the whole jar. If not, if I cannot get this jar full to the appropriate headspace, then I won't can it. Okay, but let me get the lid on this one and the ring on this one. Fingertip tight. And into the canner we go. Okay, 1 more. Let me get my little mesh strainer. I almost spilled. All right. I have a tendency to squelch like a puppy dog. Don't mind me. Oh, anyway, so yeah, I threw my back out Saturday afternoon. I was getting some buckets ready for springtime planting, and so I was drilling holes in them, and I was studying my drill a certain way, and it seemed like a great idea, except my core is not in the best shape after not exercising for several years, and, you know, other health issues and whatnot with my body. And so I'd done 11 buckets. I was on to the 12th. When I got to the 12th, I realized I could not bend down. I just couldn't bend down. So I had to get on my knees to get that 12th one done, but I was determined to make it happen. And then I just had my girls go ahead and fill them with the compost and garden soil and all that jazz. So those buckets got done. Those ones did. I still have quite a few more that I need to do. But at least that batch got done. Well, looks like I might make this last one And this had cooked down overnight, and so it's pretty good and concentrated. If I wanted to, I could add water, but it looks like I'm right at where I need to be. There's a tiny bit more in here. Boom. We're good. Let's stick those things in here so I can show you. Look at that. We're empty. We're good. Okay. I just need to find an empty spot on my counter for it. Sorry, now I'm out of frame. Hold on, guys. I'm coming back. Oh, found a spot. Okay. Now, I've already got my pressure canner warming up because this is warm liquid going into warm jars. Remember, I just washed these jars, so they were warm from being washed, going into a warm canner. So I just have it on low because it's not like boiling hot. Now, if you put your lids on too loose, if you put your rings on too loose, it can come off in the canner, and then everything's just going to come out and it's going to go everywhere inside your pressure canner, and you're going to have a big mess. If you put it too tight, your lid could buckle and then it's not going to seal. So, it's pretty important to do your lid correctly as far as tightening goes. Okay, and I'm just spreading these out to where there's about an inch of room between each jar. I can't tip it to show you, but that's what I'm doing over here. Okay. So, what have I used so far? Got my pressure canner. I had my slow cooker and all the normal things for cooking broth. I had jars. I had wide mouth jars, and the ones that I did before were regular mouth jars. And so I had lids for those. I order my lids in bulk on Amazon. You can get like 200 for like 20 bucks. Much better than buying the ones at Walmart. They seem to have a lower failure rate for me. Failure is when they don't seal. You've done all the work, you put it in the jar, you did everything right, cleaned the rim, everything was done correctly, and then it didn't seal. So that's very unfortunate. I used a canning funnel. You see the funnel has a really big bottom on it. I got my jar lifter here for when they're done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lid on. There is an arrow, again I can't tilt this, but there's an arrow on one of the handles. On this one it's on this side, and then there is an arrow right here, and I'm going to match those arrows up, set it on down. Okay, now my lid is on, and I'm going to turn up my heat to about medium high. I don't want it too high because I am going to bring down the heat once I put my weight on. I have weight in here for my canner that sits on here. That's got a little vent. Let me show you right there. It's got a little vent sticking up right there. Once this starts steaming, we're gonna have quite a bit of steam. Once this starts steaming, it will be pushing oxygen out of the canner, and therefore able to build up steam once I put my weight on. Sorry guys. Got up super early. Might have had too much coffee. Let me drink some water here. Now my babies are starting to wake up. How you doing? You're all dressed and ready to go? My youngest is all good and dressed. Go get your book and read, okay? Oh, horrible. Horrible. She knows she can tell me no when I'm live because I won't do anything about it. Later. I'll handle that later. We'll be getting no more no's in the future. Okay, so I had prepared 6 jars in case it took 6. It ended up only taking 5. So I'm going to take this off and let it dry and then put it away. Just going to dump out this bowl of water. Sorry guys, I don't like turning my back to you. That was just water in there, clear water. So now what you could do if you are making broth and maybe it's like a beef bone broth and you know it's going to have a ton of fat, you might want to go ahead and make your bone broth and then let it cool down and then scrape off the top layer of fat. Okay, and then you can heat it back up to where it's like at a liquid consistency, because a lot of times it'll gel. Just because of all that good gelatin, you know, or the collagen from the bones. It'll gel, and then you'll just fill your jars and do the same thing. Don't worry about that right now, sweetheart. We're wanting to take eggs to friends today because we have an overabundance. So my little helper is asking questions about how we're going to do that without having any cartons. We don't have any cartons right now. So this is the jar I didn't use. If you come to my house, you will see that some of my jars are kind of cloudy because you reuse jars and you reuse jars and you reuse jars. And if you forgot to put vinegar in your water in here, the calcium will get all over your jars, and sometimes it can be pretty hard to get off. I did put some, just like a splash of white vinegar in my pot before I added my jars. Okay, so I missed a step in telling you guys. There's water in this. There's water in this pressure canner. That's very important. There are lines at the side on the inside, and you just fill it to the first line. That's about 2 or 3 quarts of water. And then you just put like probably a condiment cup size amount of vinegar in there, a splash or 2. It doesn't matter an exact measurement on the vinegar. You can just, you know, eyeball it, glug, and you're good to go. And it'll keep the calcium from depositing all over your jars and keep them from coming out cloudy. So I've forgotten a time or 2, and it's okay. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just not very pretty. I do keep a vinegar spray though for my kitchen, and sometimes I'll just like spray my jars and wipe them off, and they're fine. After you pull your jars out of the canner though, my back. Sorry guys. After you pull your jars out of the canner and they've cooled and you've tested them and you know that they sealed, you will give them a wipe down. Either spray them with vinegar spray and wipe them down, or you can even stick them in a sink of warm soapy water. Wash them like dishes. Just don't break that seal on there. Wash them, you know, take your rings off. So it'll be like this when it comes out, right? After it's completely cooled down, you take the lid off. You take the ring off. If your lid comes off, then it did not seal. It needs to go in the refrigerator and get used up right away. Or you can try reprocessing it, like putting it back in the canner and redoing that. If you can pick it up from the lid and the whole jar comes, then it has sealed. And you'll take it just like this. You'll wash it, label it, date it, a Sharpie or something, and then you'll put it on your shelf. And you have a shelf-stable product. You know, hurricane comes, we lose electricity for a week. You've got some stuff. You've got some stuff on your shelf. Stores are closed. Can't get out because we have a fluke blizzard in Texas. Frozen and icy roads. Inclement weather, whatever that may be. You've got it. Arabella, will you bring me one of those stools in there? Let me show you a couple of jars that I've canned. Okay, so this is cherry pie filling, and it's pretty dusty from sitting. I'm just gonna stool over here so I can sit. Oh, that's better. Cherry pie filling. Okay. And I can lift it. See that? I'm lifting it from the lid, no ring. And that's how I store it, is without a ring. Some people store with rings on, and that is not recommended. I have had things get like bumped on the shelf, and you hit it just right and it'll lose that suction and break the seal. If that happens and a ring is on it, bacteria starts forming. They'll start creating a gas in here, and it'll do kind of like what happens during canning. During canning, what happens is you get lots of air production, gas production, right? Because the moisture is heating up and it's bubbling, it's bubbling, it's bubbling, it's turning into gas, and it's pushing out all the oxygen. It's killing off any bacteria, but it's also, you know, pushing out the oxygen. And then when you take it out of the canner, as it cools, it pulls down as it's, you know, coming off of that gas and turning back into liquid, and it pulls down on that lid. Okay, that'll be the same process that happens, or a similar process that happens if you break your seal and you have your lid on here. The bacteria are going to be eating and farting up a storm in there, and they're going to be pushing up gas, pushing up gas, pushing up gas, and then as that gas reduces, it'll pull down on that lid, and you will have something called a false seal. And you have germs in here that are going to make you sick, and you have no idea that anything's ever occurred because that ring was on there. If that ring was not on there, that lid's just going to stay loose because there's nothing holding it on there. And so when you go to pull it off the shelf and you barely touch it and it flies off, or you go to pull on it and you don't hear a good, like a popping sound when you know, peel it off, you don't hear that, you know that this food is questionable at best and should probably be given to the chickens or thrown away. Does that mean you throw away your jar? No, not at all. The jar is glass, meaning it's non-porous, can be washed, run through the dishwasher, whatever you do, and reuse it. Now, if you have the same jar that is, this one's got something on it. If you have the same jar that keeps not sealing, you might have a chip in your rim. This is my water glass right here. You might have a chip in your rim up here to where that lid can't get a good seal, and that's going to be an issue. So that's why we have some jars that are for drinking only, or for just like storing leftovers in the refrigerator. You know, you make dinner and you don't have any Tupperware. We typically don't really have Tupperware anymore. We mostly just use the jars. We have a few things, but really we use a lot of jars, especially for like the soups. We do have some. Arabella's like, no, we do have Tupperware. We do have some Tupperware. But I haven't bought any in a really long time. So it's dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And we really just use a lot of jars. We use them for drinking out of. We use them for storage. I will put, like, if I buy a big bag of beans or something, or flour or sugar, I will fill up jars, and depending on what's in it. If it's sugar, I'll just try to seal it with my vacuum sealer, put the lid on, and then store it. You don't actually even have to do that, but I like to with sugar. With flour, I put an oxygen absorber in with it in the jar, put the lid on, and it'll suck out all of the oxygen, and then and it'll seal on its own, and then it's good until we need it. I also do that with rice. We've got some like 1 gallon jars that were, you know, from like pickles or whatever, just the old glass jars. And I'll just get like the big bag of rice from Sam's Club, and I'll fill them up, put oxygen absorbers in there. It keeps the bugs out. Mice can't chew through glass, you know, if you get a mouse in your house. And it keeps it fresh. It's a way of preserving, because oxygen degrades food. So, or any biodegradable matter. Yeah, let me show. So, this past week, we went to several different Valentine's Day parties for homeschoolers. And one of the moms did a special Valentine. Instead of giving like candy, she did a little science experiment, and she did these glass jars and put the ingredients inside, and then she printed a little card with a QR code that sent you to the website with the instructions. And this is what they made. They made little borax crystal hearts. It was so cute. Just a little popsicle stick with a pipe cleaner and the 3 tablespoons of borax. And then, you know, the instructions said just to fill this jar up with hot water. You put the borax in, stir it till it dissolves, and then hang your heart from the popsicle stick. Isn't that cute? It's adorable. I just thought that that was so creative and very, just, you know, outside of the box. I love that. Okay, I can hear this is starting to make noise. It's not yet even venting. Canning takes a lot of time. It takes quite a bit of time. Let me see. Here is Arabella's dry one. Her little dry crystal heart. Isn't that cute? So much fun. She had a blast doing it. And so she took hers out of the liquid yesterday. It's done after about 24 hours. She took hers out of the liquid yesterday and then let it sit overnight on a paper plate, and it's like really hardened. It wasn't this hard before, right? It was softer and easy to break, but after another day, it hardened really nicely. So I thought that was cool. Here you go. There you go. So they had a lot of fun doing that little science experiment. Whew. Good morning, Miss Rebecca. How are you? I hope everybody's doing well this morning. I'm just sitting here waiting for my canner to steam. Once it starts steaming, we can set a timer for 10 minutes. And hopefully this won't take 10,000 years of me just having to sit here and talk. Think of things to say. Oh, goodness gracious. And of course, so we've been having issues, and I know that this has been happening with a lot of creators, is that we'll be on a live and goodness gracious, the live comments will disappear. I'm just having so much trouble today. I've got my little tens unit right here. I'm resetting because my back is angry with me. And you know, just when you think that the weather's good and we're gonna be fine, we get another little freeze. They're calling it a hard freeze. So I did plant a couple of tomato plants yesterday, so I'm gonna have to move them into my garage, which is not a big deal because we have it in buckets. We have them in buckets. So I'm going to make sure they're good and mulched today. And then we're going to put them in the garage because I don't want my fresh plants to die. But I'm needing, so for my family, we go through, I would say about 52 quarts of marinara a year if we have it available. A couple years ago, I was given probably, I want to say like 25 gallons of tomatoes, just like maybe five gallon buckets worth. And I made marinara, I made tomato sauce. I think that was basically it, marinara and tomato sauce, because that's what we use. And it lasted us, I want to say like 6 months maybe, not even. Because if we have it, we use it. We like to use it. And so I know that we go through like crazy are tomato products, jalapenos and peppers. Oh, reactions are enabled. That's cool. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. Jalapenos and peppers. And then, okay. And then we eat a lot of like butternut squash and pumpkin products. What else? I don't know. I don't know what we eat. We eat a lot of poultry. And so I'm wanting to do a bunch of broiler chickens. Broiler chickens are Cornish cross chickens. And they go from chicks to fully grown in about 8 weeks. And then you process. And you have a freezer full of chicken. Last time we did that, our freezer went out maybe a month after we did it, and we lost all that chicken. I was so sad. Another issue is that you really need to keep a rabbit in with them. We have rabbits now, thankfully, so we can put a rabbit in with the chicks, but they have to keep moving or their hips will dislocate because they gain weight so fast. Maybe that's what's wrong with my back right now. Maybe. Just kidding. I think it's mostly in my hip that I'm having the issue. So, do some chickens. Lily's gonna get a cow for showing. We won't eat it. I can't eat it anyways. I'm allergic to mammal, but we can't eat it. It's for show, for 4-H. Oh, what else? And then my regular herbs, peppermint, thyme, rosemary, all those things. I'm wanting to do some lungwort, but the thing about lungwort is that it grows more easily in zones up to zone 8, and we are zone 9A. So I want to try it because zone 8, zone 9A, like, is there really that much of a difference? I don't know. But I want to try it. Can you hear that? Can you hear the canner? It's quite a process to can things because you have to wait for it to start steaming. Then you have to wait the 10 minutes. I don't usually go a full 10 minutes. As long as I can see that it's got a really good steam and I'm not having huge gaps of air coming out, it's fine, typically. And then after that, I put my lid on, my weight. And then once my weight is on, I turn down my heat a little bit because I know kind of like the sweet spot on my stove. I try to do that kind of slowly because if you go too fast with it, you run the risk of siphoning because you're having huge temperature fluctuations at a very fast rate, and it can affect your pressure. And so siphoning is where the liquid will bubble out of your jars. What else? Okay. So after I do that, then I wait for my pressure to come up to 11 pounds. It has to be above the 10-pound mark for my elevation. I live at sea level. So if you live up in Colorado, your pressure will be higher than mine. You will need to have more pressure than I have. I don't need that much. Once it hits the 11 pounds of pressure, 10, 11 pounds of pressure, then I can start my timer for 25 minutes. It has to stay above that pressure for the full 25 minutes. Once that time is up, then I am good to just turn off the heat on my stove, but I cannot take my weight off until my little pressure gauge reads 0. At that point, I should be good to go. I'm going to take some cayenne this morning. Cayenne is so good for inflammation. It's also one of those really good rescue herbs. And it, so like if you're having a heart attack or an allergic reaction, anaphylaxis, you can take this on the way to the ER or like while you're waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Don't take this and then think you're fine. Ooh, that's hot. Whew. That is good and hot. I might need to eat a cookie. I can feel it coming out my ears. Yep. That was hotter than I remember. I'm always, every time I take cayenne, I'm like, oh wow, that's super hot. As if I don't already know. As if I've never taken it before. And as if I don't know that cayenne is hot. It's like childbirth. Okay? You forget how painful it is. It's what keeps the circle of life going. That's how it is for cayenne. You forget how hot it is. So you'll actually take it when you need it, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully that'll help my back some. So how I make the cayenne. Let's just talk about some herbs since we're sitting here. And I've talked out the canning already. Let me just lean down here and grab some stuff. Okay. This is a jar I've got in my little apothecary. This is Oregon grapefruit. It is in no way related to grapes. I don't know the botanical name for it. It is not related to grapes at all. It is not grapefruit. Some people are like, I can't take that because I'm on blood pressure medication or I'm on antidepressants or whatever. Because you're not supposed to eat grapefruit when you're on that stuff. Which makes me wonder why they don't just prescribe grapefruit. Kind of. Anyways. Oregon grape root. I know it's backwards, but they took away our ability to flip it side to side. Anyways, this is an antiviral, antimicrobial. So you get sick, you've got bronchitis, you've got the flu, you've got a sinus infection. You can take this. You can take a dropper full, just like I did this. If you're not allergic, okay? The first time you take anything, you should only take a drop or two. Just to make sure you're not allergic. You're not allergic. You don't have any reactions. You don't have any lip swelling, ear swelling, hives, trouble breathing, anything like that. You can try like half a dropper full. Still no issues, then you're generally good to go after that. I know some people that are just like, I'm not scared, and then they'll just like shoot back a full dropper full. I don't ever recommend doing that. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And they're like, what? I wasn't supposed to do that? No, you weren't supposed to do that. Not the first time you try an herb or, you know, a new herbal medicine, because these are extracts. So it's kind of like a condensed version of whatever the plant is. So this is the plant in here. The plant matter is Oregon grapefruit. You go, if you're using dry, which I'm using dry, I don't grow my own Oregon grape. But, so I order it from Frontier Co-op and go halfway in the jar with your Oregon grapefruit and then go the rest of the way with 100 proof vodka. That means it's 50% alcohol, 50% water. And it's going to extract, oh, look at all that steam. Look at all that steam coming out. Okay, I'm going to give it a few minutes to steam and then we'll set our timer. Or we'll put we'll put the weight on. Yes, that's what we'll do. Oregon grapefruit. So you'll bring it all the way up to the top. 100 proof vodka. cap it, put it in your dark cupboard, cool dark cupboard. Do not put this in your garage where there's no temperature control. Do not leave this in your car. This is a light sensitive, heat sensitive product, okay? So you'll notice I store these in amber bottles, right? You can see it's an amber bottle. And it's fine in that. It will preserve the medicinal compounds, protecting it from the light, because the sun is the earth's best source of a tool to decompose, right? Like, light breaks things down. It breaks down our skin. It, like, you know, you can get sunburn, all this stuff. So you want to be careful with that. Man, I'm just having all sorts of trouble today. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. I think it's because I'm like having like trouble breathing. I don't know. Probably because of my back. My back is angry with me today, y'all. Oh, let me lean forward here. Let's look and see. Oh, how this is going. Okay. See all this steam coming out? I hope you can see that. Got quite a bit of steam coming out. Are we having any huge gaps of air? We are not. We've been getting some steam out of this, our little stopper here. Now, I've had it to where this thing has just like leaked and leaked and leaked and leaked, and it means that we did not get a good seal on it. And it's very important to remember that this is under pressure, and it can be dangerous if you are not careful, right? But there's no reason to be afraid of it. Just like a car can be dangerous if you aren't using it correctly or you don't know what you're doing, same thing applies to this, right? That cayenne is just in the back of my throat. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on, or put the weight on, I mean. Goodness gracious me. Let me just give it a minute. I'm going to give it exactly 1 minute, and then we're going to put the lid on. With the weight. Good morning, Miss Jeannie. I hope you're doing well. If you comment, I apologize if I don't see it. Facebook has been hiding my comments, and I don't know how to bring them back. I just don't. Maybe if I make a comment. My daughter is over here showing me her little tattoo that she put on her arm. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, so my comment went up. Let's see if it's... Man, do you see all that steam coming out? It's really just a moving and a grooving right there. It's a moving and a grooving. What do you need? Can you talk to me with words? My daughter's over here like doing hand signals to me. Okay. Been going for a good amount of time. Put the lid on, or put the weight on. Now I'm just going to decrease my temperature. Oh. Leaning and doing stuff when I have a back issue is very interesting. I tell you what. Okay. What we're going to see is this little gauge should start to move. This is straight up and down is 10 pounds. We want it over the 10-pound mark. So once it's over the 10-pound mark, morning, Shay! Once it's over the 10-pound mark for our area at sea level, then we're good to go. And what I have in here this morning is chicken broth. I just did it overnight in my slow cooker. I did chicken bones. We had chicken thighs for dinner one night, got all the meat off the bones, and I put the bones in the freezer. And then I had some dehydrated mushrooms that I'd been needing to use up. I still have quite a few more to work through, but when they were given to me, I just went ahead and dehydrated them to preserve them. But, you know, you get stuff, you want to work through it. So I dehydrated them to keep them from going bad immediately, and they've been sitting there waiting for me. So I put the chicken bones and the mushrooms together in the slow cooker. They went overnight. When I put them in, I also added some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some rice wine vinegar. I didn't have any apple cider vinegar. And so vinegar is good to add because it's going to help break down the collagen in the bones, in the marrow, like, you know, all the goodness to come out. So I did that, and then I fished out all the big pieces, and then when I put my liquid into the jars, I used a canning funnel, and then on top of the canning funnel, I used a mesh strainer to make sure that we didn't get any chunks of meat in there, so that I could go ahead and do the 25 minutes on my quart-size jars. What? You can tell me. She won't talk to me because I'm live. Huh? Then go out there. She's saying she needs to cough, but she doesn't want to do it where y'all can hear her. She's so silly. She's not sick. It's just a residual cough from her being sick before. You know, once you start coughing, you can just cough and cough and cough forever. It just keeps on going. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, so I've got my sink full of dishes back here. I did get up and do some dishes, but I needed to preserve my back for canning with y'all this morning. So I did not get all of my dishes done. But I can work in my kitchen, and that's what counts. Go eat those in the living room, please. So yeah. Throughout the year, I like to do lots of pie fillings because when we make our homemade Pop-Tarts, we will sometimes use pie filling. I guess that's more of like a hand pie. I like to do jams. We do use jams in homemade Pop-Tarts. And then and we eat peanut butter and jelly like it's going out of style. So peanut butter and Christmas jam is probably the best thing in the whole wide world. Oh, it looks like we are not gaining any. Okay, and this is how you can kind of tell if you've done something wrong. And I know what I did wrong. I'm impatient. That's what I did. I put my weight on too soon. Okay. I put my weight on too soon. And I can tell because this has been sitting here for several minutes now with the weight on and my gauge has not moved at all. That means that there's still air in there that has not been pushed out by the steam. So now I just have to wait. So I'm just going to wait for that, and I'm going to, let's see, it's already 10 o'clock. Canning takes a while, okay? It's like a good 2 hours minimum for the, to bring it up to pressure. Let's see, to get the food into the jars, to get it into the pressure canner, to bring the pressure canner up to pressure, and then do your processing time, and then bring it down, like releasing the pressure, and then after that, you know, having it to where you can even get it out of the pressure canner. Like it's dripping a little bit of water. That's okay, not a big deal. As long as this isn't like flooding, because if it is, that's a big deal. But sometimes it's not that uncommon to get some of your steam dripping down the side. You just don't want it to be too much because you don't want to run out of water. I've had that happen one time and that was a total fail. So, anyways, I really wish that, good morning, Miss Nancy. I really wish I could see y'all's comments, because it's much funner to have a conversation with y'all than it is to be just a dancing chicken. I watched Pure Country yesterday with George Strait when he was young, still just a young feller, and my kids were like, "What are you even watching, Mom?" There were some parts that they aren't allowed to watch, and I just kind of skipped through because I'm not allowed to watch those parts either. But they were like, "Who is that? He looks kind of familiar." I was like, "It's George Strait." They're like, "Oh, it is not." I was like, "Yes." They're like, "Is this like a story about his life?" I was like, "No, it was just one of the, you know, parts of his career that helped him get his like big break." So we like that movie. That part where he's fighting the guy outside of the bar and the lady like slams the guy's hand in the car door, the truck door, and then he's like screaming, my hand, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh," and she opens the door and she like busts his nose with the door. My 9-year-old started laughing uncontrollably. It was hilarious. It was so funny. We were just having a grand old time watching the king of country. We don't really do a whole lot with secular music and things of that nature, but I do enjoy the oldies. I was telling my kids, because my youngest is 9, and I was like, you know, when I was her age, I was watching this movie at my friend's house. Like when I would go over to my friend Christy's house for sleepovers, she had this movie on VHS, and we would watch it on repeat. I remember watching this one on repeat, and then Beaches with Bette Midler. Y'all remember that movie? Oh my gosh, so good. So traumatizing and sad, but so good. It's kind of like Steel Magnolias, right? I love beaches. I love Steel Magnolias too. I'm gonna have to torture my kids with these movies here pretty quick. Part of me wants to be a house that doesn't watch TV, right? Like, I want us to be like, oh, look at this project I've done, or like, just like, be like those fancy people. You know, those fancy people that just like research all the time and don't do much as far. I just realized I haven't even turned on the lights in my kitchen this entire time we've been live. It's fine, don't turn them on. Everyone can see me fine. I don't know why I do this. Anyways, I would really love to be those people that don't watch TV. And we just work on our projects, and we read our books, and we're so well spoken and so intellectual. But then the other part of me is like, but some of these things that I watch are like part of me, you know? Pure country. How can, like, Selena, my girls know. They've seen Selena several times, okay? But movies like that, Steel Magnolias, okay? It might not necessarily be educational, but I feel like it's educational. I know. I'm horrible. My youngest is reading Little House on the Prairie. I feel like I should get some brownie points for that. Okay. This has been going for a little bit. Let's try it again. Got myself. Steam burns are the worst, y'all. Be careful with the steam, because it will get you. Got a little bit of a thing. Morning, Jenny. How are you? I tried to call you back the other day. I don't get that great of reception in my living room. I'm going to say this again because I've said it a couple times, but Facebook is sabotaging my comments, okay? They don't like me to be able to read any of your comments during the live. And so, like, I tried commenting on here to see if that would, like, activate. Oh, I just saw your comment. Good morning. But yeah, it, like, last time, I had all these comments, and then I didn't see them till several hours later. Like, I had to wait for Facebook to release them to me. Yay, yes, call me later. I am excited to hear from you. But anyways, we're canning, and I realized that I've been canning in the dark this whole time, but I really don't want to turn on the light now, so I feel nice and relaxed. Good morning, Shara. How are you? I've got my sink full of dishes. This is real life happening over here, y'all. I injured my back the other day, and I'm still walking around like an old lady. And it was so funny, like right after I did it, I was outside. And Seth, my husband, comes out and he was like, what did you do? Because I'm like, I can barely walk, and I'm like, you know, clearly in pain. And he's like, what is going on? What did you do? I was like, I hate being 40. Because apparently when you're 40, things happen. Like, it's super easy to throw your back out. I don't know. I've got my TENS unit on, though, but I keep not changing the time on it. I just have it for 20 minutes. I need to, like, up the time. Maybe that'll... Maybe that'll do it. Too high. But yes, if you ever have any issues with like your back or anything like that where weird things happen, I recommend I do recommend a TENS unit. I was just wanting to look at the pressure gauge. You can't really see it from here, but it is, we're almost to 1 pound of pressure. So we are building pressure now. Before it was not wanting to build pressure at all. So just in this little bit of time, we've made it almost a whole pound. We're making it in life. We're getting there. So I started canning, I want to say 2019 maybe. So I've been canning for a few years now. And when I started out canning, all I had were some jars, and I actually just happened to have like new jars and lids. I don't remember why I had them in my home. Probably because I'm just a wackadoo like that, and I have a tendency to just have random things. But I had brand new jars and lids, and I have my tamale canner, and so the first thing I ever canned, I was given a bunch of green beans from somebody's garden, and I didn't have a pressure canner yet, so I didn't want to pressure can them, or I didn't want to can them in water, so I went ahead and I pickled them. I made dilly beans. They are so incredible, y'all. If you've never had pickled green beans, like on a salad or in a sandwich, or just like as a snack, you have to try them. They are so good, so incredibly good. So I'm going to, that's another thing I want to grow is green beans. I want to grow a lot of green beans because I love having dilly beans. I love just all sorts of pickled vegetables though, like pickled cauliflower and onions and bell pepper and Brussels sprouts. Pickled Brussels sprouts are the bee's knees. Pickled carrots, so good. Pickled beets. Yes, good stuff. And then, where was I going? I forgot what I was saying. Oh, we're at almost 3 pounds now. Once we get up above 10 pounds, once we hit about 11 pounds, we can start our timer. This weight came with this canner. That is a 15-pound weight. So even though I only need at least 10 pounds of pressure, my pressure inside is still going to continue to grow. I can order the 5-pound or the 10-pound weight or whatever it is. The smaller weight is the 10-pound weight because I need 10 pounds of pressure. My brain, y'all. I am convinced that my brain is connected to my back. Anyways, I could order another weight for my pressure canner, but I really don't see the point. I'm hitting my minimum and then I'm going over it, and all of my stuff is sealing. It's not a big deal for it to be at 15 pounds instead of the 10. So, may as well. But anyways, yeah. So I did my broth. It's chicken broth with mushrooms in it, and my family. So it's the mushrooms that you would eat like in an Asian restaurant. They're very meaty and they have a very distinct flavor. Okay, I don't know what they're called. I just call them Asian mushrooms. But the thing about mushrooms, I believe that mushrooms are extremely important for good health. They are anti-tumoral. They give you good mental clarity. I should have eaten some this morning for breakfast. They give you good mental clarity. There's like all these different like benefits to mushrooms. And so I have to find ways to put nutritious food, especially into my husband's diet, because he has the palate. They're not shiitake. No, I don't know what they're. Here, bring me a container of the mushrooms, please. I'll show you guys. They're small. They're small. My grandma used to use shiitake mushrooms when she had cancer, because those ones are like so good for that kind of stuff. But they just have a real. I sliced them, but they're dark. They're real dark. If you've gone to the Mongolian Grill, they have two types of mushrooms there. The one over by Academy in Lake Jackson. They have two different types of mushrooms there. One of them is a darker one that has a very distinct flavor. Like these are that, but I don't know what they're called. I like them. When we go to that place, I will have some, because to me, things that are good for me are delicious, okay? If I were like 5, when I was 5, I probably would not have been like, oh my gosh, they're so good. I probably wouldn't eat these. But it was the same with beets, right? When I was a kid, I did not like beets. I would not have it. I tried a pickle beet once and I was like, These were given to me. I was given a full case of these from a guy at our church. I don't even know where to find them. I don't. I have no idea where to find them. I need to do more research on them. But I'll bring you some, Shara. I'll bring you some tomorrow so you can try them. Because we have a lot here. And I'm having to hide it in my husband's food to try to make sure he gets some goodness in there. I was cooking dinner the other night, and I had put in like half an onion, and Ryan, my son, was making his own meal right next to me. And he was like, you know that there are people in this house that really do not like onions. He was talking about Seth. He's talking about my husband. And I was like, yes. But here's the thing about Dad. He eats out a lot for work, okay? His work pays for it. When they've got a job going on, they cover the meals. And so he can go pretty much anywhere and just put it on the company card. And at first, it seemed like a huge blessing. But the more I research about the food in this country, the more I know about the food in this country, the less comfortable I am with it. And so I have to do things at home to kind of counteract the toxins and the stuff that he's putting into his body. So in order to prevent like artery clogging and things like that, I'll put the onions in. I'll put extra garlic in. I'm gonna put all this stuff in, and he's gonna sit there and make his grungy face and eat it. But it's for his own good. He has no idea why I'm force feeding him these onions. But it really is for his own good. I'm not just a mean wife just to be mean. We're at 6 pounds, y'all. We're at 6 pounds. Yes, ma'am. He doesn't eat the onions, but the food, the juices, like it all gets cooked together. It all marinates together. Arabella's saying, Dad doesn't eat the onions. He picks them out. He picks out what he can, first off. He does not get all of them. He's eating onions. Sometimes I will put it in like a little dicer and turn it into basically like an onion puree and put it in there. Then he can't pull it out at all. and he's getting all of that delicious goodness in his food. Sneaky, sneaky. When Ryan and Emma were little, I would, in order to get more veggies into their diets, I would steam broccoli and carrots and cauliflower and all this stuff, just like in the microwave. And then I would put it in my little puree thing and mix it in with, like meat and make meatballs. So, is that what I do to you? Why would I do that to you? I don't do that anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm just like, eat your veggies. And my people will generally eat their veggies now. When they were younger, it was hard, though, right? They had to develop that palate for veggies. So once you hide things in somebody's food enough, they become accustomed to the flavor, even though they don't know it's there. And then they go to eat it and they realize that it doesn't taste bad to them anymore. They don't understand why. It's because I've been secretly poisoning them with mushrooms for years and years. Not poisoning them, making them healthier, but to them they think it's poison. Ryan used to tell me that green things, like green food is bad. It's green, you know, like toxic. So he couldn't eat broccoli. It's green, that means it's bad. Sorry, Mom, can't have it. Yeah, he's a stinker. Little stinker. That cayenne that I took really worked, though. I was having trouble, like, talking and breathing and thinking. I took some cayenne. Jenny, if you're still on here, tell Jade that I took cayenne this morning to burn my insides out, and so she can feel better, because I also take it. I forget sometimes just how hot that stuff is, and it just continued to burn my ears and my throat and everything for a good while, at least a good 10-15 minutes. We're almost there. We're almost to 8 pounds. Woohoo! Will you put more water in here for me, please? So, yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble, just like some heaviness in my chest, and I don't know if it's like from the weather, allergies, maybe my back is, you know, affecting different parts of my body. You never know. You never know with me what is doing what. And so I took some cayenne because it's really good for inflammation, and like especially like rheumatoid arthritis type stuff. Just a few drops of this in your coffee every morning, you know, over a long period of time, it's therapeutic. So that's good. You just want to make sure that you're doing what's right for your body and your life. I don't know what other things you take. If you do take like other medicines that are like from CVS or Walgreens, and so that, like, you just want to check and make sure that there's not going to be anything that's going to interact, is what I'm trying to say. I'm distracted because I keep getting text messages. I read and then I like lose my train of thought. I'm like, oh yes. Oh, goodness me. So yes, the cayenne burnt my face this morning. Not my face. It just like burnt everything all in here. And it very may well be that you're in so much pain from the burning that your body redirects its energy from whatever pain or issue that you're having. That very well may be the reason. It's not very fun. But if you're having a heart attack and you don't have any aspirin you know, how they say to like chew up an aspirin and hold it under your tongue if you're having a heart attack. Yes, I make the cayenne tincture. I'll just get like a jar like this, and I grow my cayenne. And hi, honey. I wasn't just talking about feeding you food unknowingly. Good morning. I love you. So Shara, yes, I fill the jar all the way up with fresh cayenne from my garden. I'll just like chop it up. And then I fill it up with 100 proof vodka. I cap it, put it under the cupboard, and I let it sit for like 6 to 8 weeks. And if you can't find 100 proof, you can do the 60 proof or whatever. No, 80 proof. That's like 60% water, 40% alcohol. It's 80 proof, yes. And you'll just leave it for longer, like 12 weeks under your cupboard, and you're good to go. Truthfully, a lot of my stuff I don't ever actually strain because alcohol is a really good preservative, so it doesn't actually like get separated from the plant matter until I put it into my little jars for using. So, but it helps a lot, and I really I like having it on hand. It gives me peace of mind. You know, I know if somebody is having like an emergency situation like anaphylaxis, this could help them. It can help a heart attack. It can help, you know, just like a myriad of things. Hemorrhaging, it could stop. So cayenne is kind of like a smart herb. It knows what your body needs. And I know that sounds weird, but if you are hemorrhaging on the inside and you take this, it's going to help clot whatever's going on, or if you're having a heart attack, it's going to thin your blood. So it's pretty crazy, this little fancy herb that knows what to do. Just the compounds in it are just multifaceted, and they just go in there and work their little ways, and they help. They can help save your life, or keep you from dying on the way to the hospital. So I think that that's pretty awesome. I do personally know somebody whose mom was having a heart attack, and they got just like a cup of water and sprinkled dry cayenne on top, just like a bunch of dry cayenne on top of the water, and then had her down it, and it saved her life. Okay, we are right at 10 pounds now. Couple more minutes, and we will we'll be able to set our timer for 25 minutes. I know it takes a while to can, so I just get to sit here and babble and stare at y'all. But yeah, so I really, the main things that I keep on hand all the time, like things that I don't like to run out of, are the Oregon grapefruit tincture, cayenne, golden seal, which I don't actually make my golden seal, I just order it. I want to do some research on how to grow golden seal, because since it is over harvested, I don't really want to be like feeding the industry, but golden seal is such a useful antibiotic, antimicrobial herb that like it's extremely strong. It's very potent. So like one of our dogs, hold on, let me finish the list first before I go into the story about golden seal. Turmeric tincture is another one, and then like rosemary, thyme, and oregano. Okay, so those are like the ones that I really just like to keep on hand. My story about golden seal. Okay, Emma's dog, her little like Chihuahua mix thing, she had developed an infection after being in heat, because we don't have any male dogs that are able to reproduce, right? Like they're good there. So we don't have to fix our female dogs because they're like, she's mostly inside. We can't leave her outside because she'll kill my ducks. So she's mostly inside, you know, etc. Anyways, when she went into heat, you know, the male dogs, whatever. Well, she ended up with an infection in her uterus, okay? And it was a very severe infection to the point where she lost so much weight. She was just skin and bones, and she was bleeding horrendously. She had already been off, or like out of her heat for a couple weeks, and then she started bleeding a ton. It was just a ton, and it was so bad. And it was the infection. And so we got her into the vet to try to find out what was going on, and he diagnosed her. I can't remember the name of it, but he said that she needed a hysterectomy, basically. That she needed fixed, but it was a full hysterectomy to take out all of her reproductive organs, otherwise she would die. Well, knowing now, she probably would have died in surgery because she was so thin and frail. She was literally like near death, pretty much. So I was like, okay, well, we're dealing with an infection. We cannot afford over $1,000 for surgery. We can't. And now looking back, I know that she probably wouldn't have made it anyways, and we still would have had to pay $1,000. So we brought her home, and I was like, what can I do? So we started giving her apple cider vinegar with colloidal silver, and Oregon grapefruit, just like a 3-in-1 that I mixed. We gave her that, and we started doing that, and it helped a little bit at first, but not enough to actually make a huge difference. And I was like, what else can I give her? And I was like, the Oregon grapefruit. And so we were giving that to her like 3 times a day. And after just like a couple of days, she stopped bleeding. And by like day 10, she was done. We just did a full round of the golden seal, and we continued to do the other things too. But she was like a child trying to give her medicine. Okay, I'm going to start my, let's see, kitchen timer, 25 minutes. Okay, 25 minutes on the timer. So back to my story. She was like a child. She would run from us. As soon as she saw that bottle of golden seal, she would run and hide, and we'd have to grab her and like get her finger and, you know, put it in her mouth, and she'd be like, like, but it worked. It worked. She's still alive, trying to kill my ducks, so she's living her best life. And then my other dog got an infection in one of her little teeth, and we did the Oregon grapefruit for her, or not Oregon grape, we did golden seal for her, and it cleared it right up. Just a few doses of that cleared it right up. Like, she was fine. So I'm like, this is a really powerful herb that I will always keep. So I really need to start growing it so that I can make my own tincture. But it's hard because, again, like, I'm wanting to start growing the plumeria, which is another name for it, is lungwort, because it's so good for your lungs. I know that mullein grows wild in parts of Texas. I don't have any growing like here in my immediate area, so I haven't really been able to make any mullein tincture. But plumeria has been known to treat like asthma and stuff like that, and so Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Hey, Lily. Can you come here, please? I need her to respond for me. Hey, can you text or message Miss Brittany and tell her yes, that will work great if she could come to us. Thank you. This is the hard thing when I'm using my phone to do my lives, is that I don't have access to my phone to return text messages. And being live for this long, like, I still have life going on, right? So I've been on here for an hour and a half now. It takes a while. It takes a while. But I'm not going to be able to stay on here the whole time, because even after the 25 minutes, I'm just going to turn off the heat, and then it's going to sit there for like an hour coming off of pressure gradually. So I will post pictures, and actually this is probably a great time to hop off, but I will post pictures of the finished product, and I will do a little reel of like how to check and make sure that it's sealed. And so hopefully everything seals right. I just got in a couple weeks ago. This is the first time I'm using these lids from this company. I like to buy them bulk on Amazon. It's like, you get like 200 lids for like 20 bucks. You can't beat it. And I do have some of the reusable ones too, but I just ordered these too, and I only have like one size of the reusable lids, so I need to get more of those too. Anyways, thank you guys for coming on with me today, and I will update with all the things once the time is up on this. And the pressure's come down and everything. I will I'll give you guys an update. All right, y'all have a good day, and thank you for homemaking a homemade home with me today. Bye, y'all. Okay, I'm back. It's 11:41, and we started this process at 9 a.m. So that's almost 3 hours. But I just took the lid off of the canner, and I'm pulling out jars of the broth. You can see it's still boiling inside. I waited till the pressure was completely at 0. Then I took my gosh golly, what's it called? That thing, the weight. I took the weight off. The little lock, that thing, the lock on the lid was already down. My hand hits the hood vent every time. Okay, one more to go. My counter is stained from years of beans. That's it. They're out. They should start pinging here in a little bit and seal, hopefully. But there they are. They're done. Once they seal and they're cooled off, I can remove these rings and give them a good wash or wipe down, label, date, and put on my shelf. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye, y'all.